And our mission was to kill, like, it was as simple as that mission set could be, was to just kill everybody.
What's up, guys? If you haven't already, please smash that subscribe button and hit that like button on the video. And if you don't have time to watch this episode right now, I'd really appreciate it if you saved it to your watch later playlist on YouTube. Finally, if you'd like to follow me on Instagram or X, those links are in my description below. Alrighty, let's get into it. Afghanistan, 09.
Yep.
It's your, at that point, third deployment in Afghanistan?
Fourth deployment.
Fourth.
Oh, to Afghanistan?
Yeah.
That was my, third deployment to Afghanistan.
Okay.
Yeah. Was it? Yeah, third deployment.
Now, this is the one where, you know, some people online who have heard you on Sean Ryan, I've heard you on Vlad over the years, I've heard you talk on some other platforms. Like, this is where this popped off and where you became the Reaper.
Yeah, man. That was let's say, I forget the month we deployed. It had to be around March, April, May, April or May timeframe is when we set off on that deployment. And leading up to that, it was like everyone was expecting it to be like another SEAL Team 6 deployment. You know, you're in the action, but not really in the action. So I'm telling my wife before I leave, I'm like, hey, this is a boring deployment. Everything's going to be fine. Don't worry about it. It's a chill deployment. We were going to a place called Kandahar, Afghanistan. And little did we know, or at that time, that like the missions we were going to be doing were all in, support or in conjunction with, not with the Marine Corps. We were going into Kandahar, specifically Helmand province, to clear that area before the Marines went in. And that big push, I believe it was like late 2009, they had this big push of Marines come through to like take over this Taliban safe haven area. And our mission was to kill, like, it was as simple as that mission set could be, was to just kill everybody. Not everybody, but every terrorist, every person with a gun, everybody who shot it, like, destroy them. And that was the whole mission set, was to accumulate and wipe out as many, terrorist cells and that we possibly, encounter could encounter.
How hard was it to be able to tell, though, who was a terrorist cell versus who's a civilian versus who's a civilian who's been pressured to help out a terrorist cell? So are they a terror? You know what I mean? Like a lot of gray area.
A lot of gray area. Our interrogating skills were pretty good. We could find out who was associated with the Taliban or who was directly, with the Taliban, and others who had been pressured. But initially going after a target, we would have like the CIA guys, the intel guys accumulate this package, and they're using everything from cell phones to drones to all types of electronic surveillance and human surveillance to, figure out who was bad and who was good. They'd have this package, they send it off to us, and we would go execute the mission. We're going to this, location in Helmand or Kandahar, and who knows if they were really bad people. We were just told they were bad people. Who knows? But once we got there, it was pretty evident, like, well, they were up to something. They had, tons of guns. We would, normally get into some pretty good shootouts with them. A lot of bomb-making materials. Mainly that. We were going after a lot of IED makers, a lot of bomb makers during that deployment. In the presence of, like, landmines and remnants of the Soviet era landmines, they were all out there in the field. And a lot of the guys, like I said, we were going after just made bombs, just made IEDs and facilitated different foreign fighters. And we were like hammering those guys pretty hard. But once we got in, on target, you'd find out quick who was bad and who was just like, hey, I'm just here, And
a lot of the you're going into like villages, so to speak, like in the mountains, right? That's pretty much what it is.
Somewhat. Helmand province was a lot like a, if you could imagine, it's kind of hard to describe what this area looked like. It was Afghanistan, less mountainy, more desert, but just a bunch of small one-story huts and homes. And you had your tribes in there too, like your little sections of who was who. But it was I don't know. It was yeah, there you go. That's what it looked like. Less
Oh
mountainy.
yeah, okay. So almost like yeah, no, it almost feels like Vegas, but in Afghanistan.
There you go. Yeah, yeah. That's exactly what it looks like.
Dude, that's good.
Now try
That's funny.
Helmand, Afghanistan. HELAM or MAND.
Yes. So some of it's going to remind you a little bit of the urban feel of Iraq.
Yeah, yep.
Okay.
That was a brutal place. That was the most deadliest place in Afghanistan in 2009.
Why? Why do you think
Just
that was?
untouched for so long. Most of the coalition forces focused their missions and their operations like what part of Afghanistan was that? Dude, I forget. I just know it was not in Helmand province. It was a lot of it was like a Taliban safe haven at that time, 2009. Most of the coalition forces, their operations were in other regions of Afghanistan. And for some odd reason, and then you had the huge opium trade going through Helmand.
Yeah.
It's like 98% of all that ends up in the United States came from there. 98%.
How'd that make you feel?
I don't do so I didn't feel like anything. I was just like, man, this is kind of weird and strange how they're, pulling in that much from the place that I was at, 98%. Anybody who in America who's ever done that, it's like it came from that area. And that's how it was funding them. So I was a little pissed that people who were abusing or using back stateside, I was like, man, you guys are directly funding the war in Afghanistan, like whether they knew it or not, like that paid for their guns, their bullets, their RPGs, everything. So that was kind of like hard to, I guess digest, and you saw it, like they fought the hardest I've ever seen people fight. Like these guys at Helmand were a different level of beast. Tough guys.
How so? Like just like
They wouldn't quit. They wouldn't quit, and they were not scared to bring the fight to you. They would definitely bring the fight to you, and they were not, afraid to die. Death was not their concern.
I would imagine you captured some prisoners along the way.
Oh yeah.
Like what would they say? Like, was there something that was just different about them and talking to them afterwards?
Yeah. This one guy flat out said like "F you," asking them questions, and after being captured, he wouldn't talk. He was just a hardcore fighter. And most of those guys over there were just hardcore fighters. That's where the worst of the worst went at that time, during that time. If they were not in Pakistan by then, they were in Helmand province. And they were tough, man. Tough. Different mindset. They were just not afraid to die. They were not scared of U.S. soldiers, or they were terrified of our dogs, but that's about it. They look at dogs as rats. So
Really?
yeah. Oh yeah. They hate dogs over there. So it was
What's the deal? Why the dog hate?
I don't know. And everywhere you go in Afghanistan, there's like a stray dog somewhere barking.
That's what I'm saying. I always
Yeah.
picture the dogs around in
Yep.
these towns. Like,
They're rats. They're considered like rats. How we look at rats in the U.S. is how they look at dogs over there.
they don't eat them, do they?
I don't think so.
All right.
I don't know.
That'd be a bridge too far for me.
Yeah. I never smelled cooking dog. Luckily, while I was out there, they ate a lot of chicken and
So you know
goat.
what cooking dog smells like?
No.
Good answer.
Right? In today's society, of course I don't know.
Oh my God. How would they even though, like, I think about this all the time because you'll see some of these pictures with soldiers standing in front of the poppy fields.
Yeah.
And it's just like, holy. But during this time, like, how were they so easily able to get it out of there?
I
Considering
don't
we
know.
have presence.
Exactly. I don't know. I've heard weird stories too. I've heard of
Please do tell.
yeah, like this Marines guarding opium fields at one point. Heard about that. I've never seen them. But I did ask we would be deployed with like sometimes FBI, HRT guys, DEA, and guys from different agencies and whatnot. And I remember asking or the question got brought up, how is all the getting from these little fields to the United States? And I think they were going through China at one point. They would do their stuff, however they procure opium or poppy, whatever. They would ship it through, I think, China or something. And from
Probably.
China to here.
Thank you for watching the video, guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here